Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Enola Holmes. Before we begin, let me know in the comments if you were looking forward to this or what your thoughts were if you've seen it already, and make sure to give this a thumbs up if you like these reviews. It helps me out immensely if you do that. Also, if you're new here and you like movies, whether it be blockbusters, hidden gems, or everything in between, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases and some classics. But now, let's jump right into it. This stars Millie Bobby Brown as Enola Holmes, the younger sister of Sherlock, played by Henry Cavill, whose mother, played by Helena Bonham Carter, goes missing. This sets Enola out on a mission to find her, and along the way she gets caught up in a dangerous conspiracy which causes her to have to prove her worth as a super sleuth in her own right. This is directed by Harry Bradbeer in his feature debut. He's directed a ton of television series including Rami, Fleabag, and Killing Eve, and it's based on a young adult series of novels of the same name by Nancy Springer, which I'm not familiar with, but I'm sure I'll end up becoming much more familiar with them in the coming years, as this certainly has franchise written all over it. Not that any sequels have been announced yet, but it's a film set in the Sherlock Holmes universe with cast members all from major films and TV series, including Brown, Cavill, Carter, and Sam Claflin. The writing's on the wall there. Though if they were to do that, I'd be on board with seeing where this goes. I was a little hesitant going into this, but I ended up enjoying this movie. While the Sherlock Holmes franchise is seen as being fairly dark, especially the TV series with Benedict Cumberbatch and the movie starring Robert Downey Jr., this is actually a fun, almost whimsical look into that universe. The film mixes a few elements. It's part comedy, part mystery film, part action movie, and part coming-of-age drama. And it manages to do a good job balancing everything out without ever coming across as too jarring. We see how this is the first time Enola's really been out in the world on her own. Ever since her dad passed away and her brothers went off to become detectives, it's pretty much been Enola and her mother for most of her life. So while Enola is out searching for her mom, she's also learning to grow and see what it's like to set her own path. Though she's not portrayed as naive or dumb or anything like that, in fact she's incredibly smart, as we learn her mother homeschooled her and extensively trained her in multiple areas like fencing, archery, and many other things. So we see she's quick on her feet, she thinks fast, and is often resourceful. This is just the first time she's really had to apply a lot of this stuff by herself. She's a very strong-willed character, and Millie Bobby Brown does a fantastic job with the role. While she's been great in Stranger Things, and I very much enjoy that show, she's yet to really get the opportunity to get out of her comfort zone a bit and do something where she can give a truly great performance. The only other major role she's had besides Stranger Things was the Godzilla sequel, and not that she was bad, but let's be honest, you don't exactly go to a Godzilla movie for the performances. So here, this focuses extensively on her acting, and I gotta say, she was excellent. She really carried this, and her performance was by far the best part about this movie. She's very funny and charismatic, and she played a huge part in establishing the movie's strong, empowering, almost feel-good tone that keeps your attention for the most part. A lot of this involves her talking into the camera in between all the action. As she's discovering clues, she's presenting her theories to the audience, she'll express her feelings, and there are even one or two moments where she'll ask the audience for help, though the camera will cut away as soon as that happens. The film acts as this mix of Deadpool and a Guy Ritchie movie. It's a period piece that feels a little stylized, similar to Ritchie's films, just without any slow motion. Like, you'll see fun visuals used as scene transitions, such as pages of a book turning, but it's very meta and mostly lighthearted in the vein of Deadpool, with a lot of fourth wall breaking and trying to get the audience to laugh. I actually just recently spoke about Deadpool in another video, so I'll say about this film what I said about that. If the fourth wall breaking is your cup of tea, you'll absolutely love this. For me though, while I enjoyed it for the most part, at times it felt like a little too much. Some of the jokes fell flat and felt like they were made just for the sake of keeping the shtick going. Because this is done a lot. I mean, at some points it's after every conversation, or sometimes even in the middle of some conversations. Enola will stop things to make some clever remark to the audience, and I felt like it took me out of the moment a few times. There were instances where I felt the stakes weren't as high as they should have been because she's winking to the audience as someone's talking, or she'll reveal her strategy while fighting someone, and it just seemed like they went too overboard with some of it. Like I said, I know there are people who really enjoy this sort of thing, so this will be right up their alley, but for me, it didn't always work. I still enjoyed it though. It's often fun, and it's even dark at times. Even though I said the film feels stylized in some areas, it's definitely not that way in its action scenes. It's definitely marketed a little bit towards family, so it only goes so far in terms of the action, but some of the fights definitely felt a little more brutal than I was expecting them to be. Especially given that Enola is just a teenager, and she comes across people that fist fight her, shoot at her, attempt to drown her, and whenever she gets the upper hand on some of them, it won't end on a pretty note for a few of them. It's not graphic, but it certainly goes a bit further than I was expecting. Though they were well done, and in general, the fights were thrilling and exciting. Another thing I enjoyed about this is, even though it's set in the Sherlock Holmes universe, the film never tries having Sherlock overtake the spotlight in any way. He's still trying to do his part and solve some of the same mysteries as Enola, and he has a fairly strong presence throughout the film, but he's only used sparingly. Even though he's established as being this big celebrity and everyone knows who he is, one of the movie's themes is being able to carve out your own journey and making something of yourself. So while he'll be helpful at various points, he never overtakes Enola, and there's even this joke when someone says how Enola's even one step ahead of him regarding one of the mysteries. And Henry Cavill, while only playing a small part, does a great job with this, and I enjoyed this take on Sherlock. There was actually a bit of a legal battle with the Conan Doyle estate over this because the traditional portrayals of Sherlock show him without emotions, and this is a version of the character with a much softer side. He forms a bond with Enola, and when they do cross paths, he acts as a bit of a mentor towards her and wants to see her on the right path. Though Cavill still had this larger-than-life presence about him while showing the more humane side to the character, and it made him pretty compelling, so I really enjoyed the few times we do see him on screen. And he made for a fun contrast to his older brother Mycroft, played by Sam Claflin, who, funny enough, is actually younger than Cavill. We see more of Mycroft than Sherlock as he's Enola's legal guardian, but he's also much more of a jerk. He's not a flat-out villain, but due to the strained relationship with Enola, he's one of the more antagonistic figures in the film, which will also be used for several jokes, including Enola drawing silly caricatures of him. But Claflin does a solid job here. And it's through the strained relationship that the film's themes really come into play. As I mentioned, the film does focus on carving your own journey and not adhering to what others want. Mycroft doesn't care for how Enola presents herself and attempts to send her to this boarding school where this snooty headmaster, played by Fiona Shaw, tries getting her to conform to societal norms and make her more ladylike. And Enola will find herself at odds with both Mycroft and the headmaster, telling them she's not going to be who they want her to be. Like I mentioned, the film's definitely marketed a bit more towards families, and this will be a great lesson to take away, especially for younger audiences, how you don't need to be someone you're not just because others have certain expectations, and I thought that was well done. This is a mostly fast-paced, energetic film, especially in its first third and its last third. However, my biggest criticism of it, besides the excessive fourth wall breaking, is the fact that it definitely feels sluggish in its second act. The film runs at 2 hours and 3 minutes, and it really could have been cut down to about an hour 40. Because what happens is, a third of the way in, this will break off in a bit of a different direction. This doesn't exclusively focus on Enola trying to find her mom. She ends up crossing paths with a kid known as Lord Tewkesbury, and she finds herself helping him with an issue of his own, as he's part of this big family, and they have a mystery of their own that needs to be solved. And when the film shifts gears to focus on this, it'll lose me just a bit. It spent the whole 30 to 40 minutes setting up one story, and as it starts moving quicker and gaining more momentum, it winds up having to stop things and introduce a whole new set of characters, go through their backstory, and get us up to speed with their issues. And then we find the film having to juggle a fair amount of things. You have Enola trying to find her mom, her helping Lord Tewkesbury, as well as frequently cutting to Mycroft trying to track her down, and we also have Enola remembering advice from her mom, so it'll cut to Helena Bonham Carter in flashback giving her advice, and with all this going on, it slows the movie down just a bit. It's not exactly boring, but with so much going on, it just causes the film to lose some of that fast-paced energy it had in its first third. Maybe if they introduced some of these other characters earlier on, it would have flowed better, or maybe they could have condensed some plot points just to keep things moving quicker. I still had a good time, especially due to the cast, and it bounces back in the third act, but for a little while in the middle, I wasn't as invested. Overall, this was an enjoyable film. While its fourth wall breaking can be a bit too much and it has some pacing issues in the second act, this is a fun, mostly fast-paced, energetic experience. It does a good job of mixing a coming-of-age story with comedy and mystery. It has a nice theme of being true to yourself and finding your own way that will make this a good time for the whole family. It's on Netflix now, and with a strong performance by Millie Bobby Brown carrying this, it's certainly worth checking out. Enola Holmes gets a 7.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Enola Holmes, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you find it funny? Did you like the mystery? And what's one of your favorite detective movies? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll catch you next time.